OMU Commissioners Meeting, 20th of October, 2016.
Our Father, we thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed on each and every one of us, and ask you for strength to lead our lives in a manner that you've directed. We pray for your wisdom and your guidance as we do the business of this utility for the benefit of our customers and our community. Father, we ask you to watch over and protect our employees as they go about their duties. Help them return safely every day to their loved ones and their family, free from injury. Father, we ask you, we pray for peace in the world. Help us to overcome our differences as we also ask and pray for stability. We ask this all in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, how's it going?
Before I ask for the review of modifications, we did change the consent agenda motion to exclude one of the determination of findings that was on last month. Was the first one, the KYMEA, $115,000. So we're not asking for your approval on that because I still owe you additional information on that item. Are there any other changes to the agenda? First action item that we have is adjustment to our commercial internet rates for our higher speed offerings. And as the memo indicated, we're lowering pricing for the higher speeds that we're offering to customers based upon a number of things, but not the least of which is the fact that we believe that we have priced these too aggressively. And based on the feedback that we're getting from the marketplace, our rates are too high. We only have 3 customers in this category in the 30 to 100 megabit speeds. And we're anticipating picking up several more customers in that range as well. We believe that these rates that we're recommending will enable us to be competitive with the other offers of these speeds. With that, Mr. Chairman, I ask for a motion to approve and discussion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Is there discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item we have, is our consent agenda item, and again, you can see the motion excludes the DNF regarding the KYMEA.
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next item is our first quarter financials, and Lord Chapman is going to run us through those.
As Terry mentioned, I will go over the first quarter financials that end August 31st, 2016. I'll begin with an overview of our consolidated electric system. Again, this slide outlines the units that make up our consolidated electric system, being Elmer Smith, wholesale power marketing, retail electric system, and the telecommunications unit. Our operating revenues for the consolidated electric system were pretty much on target with budget being slightly above and also higher than prior year. Our expenses, however, were below budget at about 4.4%, below budget and below prior year as well. Our next slide shows that our net income came in above budget, nearly $1.6 million above budget, an $8.4 million budget compared to, an $8.4 million actuals compared to a $6.9 million budget. Our cash and investments balances for the electric system, this slide shows that they were all pretty much on target with budget or above. And that is all on our consolidated electric system. I'll go on to Elmer Smith if there are any questions. Elmer Smith, we generated about 2% above budget. And as you can see, a lot more of it went to our retail side of the business than our wholesale, that we budgeted. And our operating expenses, however, were below budget and below prior year. The next slide shows the operating expenses on a per megawatt hour basis. At the non-fuel, which is mostly our fixed cost, because they were spread over a greater number of megawatt hours, we came in below budget. The next line, the red line, represents our fuel cost, which again, it was below budget, and that's primarily because we had lower mercury cost than we budgeted. Cost to run the mercury system was lower. And then if you add in G&A depreciation, you get the total line, which is the top line there. It was also below budget on a per megawatt hour basis. That's it for Elmer Smith. I'll move on to wholesale power marketing. This slide shows, the first set of bars shows our power marketing, our power market prices. The right side of set of bars shows our prices that we receive from our SEPA sales. As you can see, our budget is we came in above budget on both the market, power markets, and from our SEPA sales. So we were able to achieve higher market prices. The next slide shows that we were below our sales, below budget on our sales of 1.5%. Again, that was because of our larger retail load requirement. Our revenues pretty much were higher than budget, and again, that was because of the higher market prices that we were able to achieve. Our expenses were below budget at 3.8%. And the next slide shows a breakdown of our purchase power, which is our major driver of our operating expense, and it is 3.5% below budget. No questions, I'll move on to retail electric system. Our sales were, as highlighted here, was nearly 6% above budget. And our revenues were pretty much on target with budget, being slightly below. That is because due to the greater, better than budget wholesale performance, that lowered a burden on our retail customers. The next slide shows the balance of our ECA, our energy cost adjustment, and as you can see, it is below what we budgeted. We budgeted to come in close to $10 million. We are little above $8 million. Our operating expenses for the retail electric system were below budget as well. And the next slide shows the breakdown of our purchase power, again, which is a major component of our operating expenses. It's below budget, below prior year. That's it on.
Excuse me, do you think our retail was up because of the weather? Is that proper? Any other drivers for that? Any new customers or anything unusual?
No, we won't be able to tell whether customer demand is up on an individual basis until probably several more months, because you have to do the weather normalization studies in order to figure that out. But it's definitely weather related. We did have a hot June, July, and August. September was not as hot, but
was it hot by historical standards? I mean, we didn't have any long,
no,
really intense heat.
No, the issue was that at night we never cooled off at night, so temperatures stayed higher, which made people's air conditioning systems run harder during the day.
That bodes well for pay increase then for the employees, based upon.
Well, Lynn's going to speak to that
She'll speak
issue
to
when
that?
she gets to
Okay.
the financial.
look good too.
But I think if you go back one slide, or go back to that one, that slide's important, because as you can see, we've recovered, what that's saying is we're recovering more from customers through the ECA than we had anticipated. So the ECA balances are less. Not only is financial performance better than budget, but the ECA balance is better than budget as well.
And that's captured in one of your slides. It doesn't go everywhere.
The spaghetti slide.
Thank you.
Our last unit of the consolidated electric system is for telecommunications. It is above budget. Our revenues were above budget by 10%. Our expenses were below budget, a little bit above prior year. And this slide shows our revenue components our commercial revenue components, and you see it's above budget and above prior year. That's a duplicate slide. That's it for consolidated electric system. If there's no questions, I'll move on to our water system. Our water system sales were above budget by nearly 4%. And while our revenues mimic that at being above budget as well and above prior year. Our expenses were pretty much on target with budget, being slightly above prior year. And this slide shows, similar to our electric side of the business, this slide shows our expense per 1,000 gallons for the water system. And although some of our major components were higher, we were able to achieve lower total cost than budgeted. This slide shows our net income being higher than budget at $137,000 compared to a budget that was pretty flat. It was pretty much zero, a little bit less than that. And then our cash and investment balances, similar to the electric side, pretty much shows that we were on target with budget, a little bit higher in some areas. That's it for both of our utilities. We do like to show you a slide or two on our total G&A expenses for both the electric system and the water system combined. This slide shows pretty much how we allocate those among the companies, but as you can see, our budget is, we came in much less than our budget. The next slide shows the different components of our G&A. The major drivers of it being lower is our health costs. We were able to basically push more of those costs into O&M than we budgeted, as well as the computer expense is lower, but that pretty much is a timing issue, so we'll probably catch that up later in the year. And that's it on G&A. I'll move on. Finally, our consolidated electric system, again, we were up $1.6 million above budget. And the drivers is that our retail electric system revenue was pretty much on target with budget. We were able to achieve higher market prices with our wholesale market. And despite our lower sales, we were able to achieve net income of nearly $1 million above budget. Our fuel costs at Elmer Smith were almost $1 below, per megawatt below budget. And again, that was due to the lower cost of running our grid system. Our telecommunications unit was above budget by $67,000, and our water system was above budget by $150,000. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Laura. Nice job. Took a good quarter.
This quarter's impact, November 7th, employee raises.
Yeah, Lynn will talk about
Oh,
that.
okay. All right.
Yeah. Next item,
All right.
Rick's going to give us an update, quarterly update on.
Catch up with that water system.
Always smiling in those pictures.
Yeah, that's a good picture.
What's that?
Always smiling in the pictures.
We're here, continue to drive more customer connects. One thing I wanted to make special note of were the disconnects that you see over here. Those were actually customer reconfigurations. There were some remodeling, there were some relocations happening. So they installed a few circuits earlier on in the year, and then once they had those new locations up and everything was reconfigured, they went ahead and shut those down. So that's not a customer dissatisfaction, unhappy with the service, anything like that, which fortunately has been a continuing theme for us, is that it's just simply part of their operations that they've had to go and reconfigure things. So we are now up to 229 circuits serviceable. There's the current commercial committed bandwidth. Any questions on that? I'm glad that that one big disconnect dropped off here on the end now. Too much red on the slide. And then here's our voice services. So still fairly steady with voice services. We're up to 211 voice lines now. And here's our fiber to the home residential internet service. I do always want to address the disconnects and any questions about those. One of those is someone was in an apartment over there and moved into a home. So they had an installation originally at their first location. Now it's a disconnect because they're disconnecting at the apartment, but then they reinstalled it over at their home. Another one was someone was operating sort of a home-based business, thought they needed the service, was going for about 3 or 4 months, ultimately decided they no longer needed it and terminated the service and paid the actual termination fees that were. And then I'm not too sure about that other one. There's sort of a little bit of a nebulous situation around that one. And I'm also pleased to say that we have a couple connects happening later this week, as a matter of fact tomorrow, that will take us to a 19.5% penetration for that area. So we're getting there. And that's something that is over on this slide. We're at 19.2 effective those last numbers. Finally, we have our secondary gigabit service installed. And we are working through the transition currently from the 100 megabit service that we have with them to the other gigabit service and making sure that that acts as a proper overflow for us.
Chris, go back once. Do you have, on the pilot that you've done, do you have gigabit available?
Yes.
But
yes.
No connection?
We have like 8 total on gigabit. Yeah, I'm sorry. There are gigabit customers. There's like about 8 of them. Let's see. Yeah, 1 in December, 3 in January, and 4 in February. I'm not sure why. Maybe that. Yeah, the colors right there. I don't know. I'll go back and double check that slide because somehow it's not coming across appropriately. But
the 50,
yeah, there are 8 gigabit.
But the 50 megabits biggest seller.
Absolutely. Yeah, by far. And then the middle ground seems to be almost non-existent of the 100 meg service. It's either you really want that high speed or you're kind of more just trying to go with the low cost, best service at the lowest price.
50 is good.
Yeah, 50 seems to work well for lots of folks. So we have surpassed our 200 voice lines now. I did want to make note that as an operations OMU operations, I think Dr. Maddox many months ago had asked me, are we on our own phone service here? We are now on our own phone service. We made that transition about a month and a half, 2 months ago.
How's it working?
You guys tell me. These guys use it. Is it working okay? I don't know. They don't complain, so it must be all right.
Yeah, I haven't heard any complaints.
I'm sure most of them didn't even know that it happened.
That's what I was
Probably
saying.
not
We didn't know
good
this.
for
That's transition.
Switch to it.
That's the good news is most of them probably had no idea that anything had happened. So, as I mentioned, we're at 19.5. The phase 2 construction has begun, and I wish I had put up the little map here that we got of that area. Most of you are familiar with it, but it's the other side of Tamarack over here. And we already have the construction contractors building out the distribution network, kind of focusing on this little triangle section of the neighborhood over here, and then working their way going up Tamarack. And hopefully that will be serviceable possibly sometime in November, maybe early December, hoping to have that entire area serviceable by the end of this calendar year.
Are there already efforts underway to let them,
Yes.
get them on board?
We actually have some that have already pre-subscribed, as I call it, called in, expressed an interest in the service, want to make sure that they can get it when it's available. We will start to do some more marketing efforts over there too. With the political season the way it is, our traditional form is to usually do door hangers and things like that. Well, and we're kind of concerned that it might be a little, if we pull the trigger on that too early, that people are just going to, I'm tired of seeing this stuff. So we're going to try to figure out a good way to time that. And we did install our 100th customer this last quarter. That's, what's her name? Janet Carey. Janet Carey was very kind to let us use her image in a number of things. And we did have an article in Broadband Communities magazine, and she had a little picture in the community magazine for that, so it's kind of neat.
Did you forward us that article?
You did not.
Could we?
But I don't think it's one of those that I kind of got, matter of fact, some of my former colleagues called me up. I wasn't even sure when it was going to be posted. They called me up and said, hey, I saw this article. I said, oh, well, that's great. I should have probably let Brittany know that.
Yeah, okay.
Because those are
if you.
not on your
We'll take
normal
care of it.
radar screen.
She's not a reader of broadband.
No,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
search that every time too, I really do.
Any other questions about the telecom? I think we're chugging away pretty well.
So, I mean, when you said the phase 2, we could actually start signing up people in?
What we'll do is take their information now, kind of like what we did in the initial pilot area. Prior to it being available to directly be installed, we'll take their information now and store it in a database. Once we know that that area is ready for them to be serviceable, we'll go back and contact them and then process a service order and get them installed. So they can sort of pre-subscribe right now. Actually, Sonia's done a great job working with the internet, our internet presence there, so that people can go online, see some of the images of the neighborhood, can actually register themselves. A lot of them talk to the CSRs though.
So do you know what Comcast has planned, anything different?
Charter, yeah, I'm sure.
Charter.
Yeah, Charter. They have talked a lot about increasing their minimum speeds throughout the entire state of Kentucky. As I shared with the directors yesterday, in order for them to do some of that, though, they're going to have to eliminate their analog channels here within our market. And they have said that a couple times that they're going to do that, but I haven't seen any actual activity around it. Everyone who has analog television channels today would have to get a digital box issued to them. When we start to see some of that, that's when I'll have a better feel for they're actually serious about increasing their speeds.
Is their pricing structure going to remain, or is it going to go up? Do you know what they're going to do?
What the indications I'm getting are more of the pricing structure will probably remain the same. There is this promotion about a very low-end service for economically challenged individuals. And I've talked to some people in markets where that's available, and they say it's, believe it or not, it's really a non-issue.
They call that DSL.
But I suspect that the industry has long been not wanting to erode revenue, so they're going to maintain their pricing structure similar to it is today, but they're going to just provide more speeds. That's my take on it.
We're still in a good spot.
Greater speeds. And as far as capital dollars getting to this market, I don't think we're on the top of the list for Charter to recapitalize, their entire Time Warner footprint and focus here on Owensboro quickly. But you never know. Other questions?
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
Still really excited about this business. It's growing. And, Chris was telling me the other day that we've actually got people that are pre-subscribed in areas that we don't have any plans to add fiber in yet. So big demand, we think, for the services that we're offering. So, and as you'll see in their 5-year plan, we are at this point planning on a complete build out of the city as the next phase. All right, my report for this month. 3 big things that we've been working on that has taken much of my time, a lot of staff time. First is the bond refunding. We're scheduled to go to the market next week with the $44 million of bond refunding. That's the 2010 and 2013 bonds. As we reported to you, we anticipated a $3 million savings as a result of that refunding. Because rates have moved up in the last 2 weeks, that is now down actually to about $2.5 million of savings, not $3 million. And we are still debating on whether to make that sale next week or to wait until the following week based on market conditions. There's a lot of volume in the bond market that we know of next week, and our financial advisors and underwriters have been working with us to try to help us time this right with the market so that we can achieve the maximum savings for customers. So as with any bond offering, we're ready to go. We are not required to sell bonds at any period of time, so since this is for savings, we will do our best to try to time the market to achieve as much savings as possible. We do want to be in the market prior to December. We do anticipate, I think our advisors and our underwriters do anticipate that the Fed will take some action in December in raising rates. So we want to try to be in the market and have these sold before then. The next Fed meeting is on November 2nd and 3rd, and right before the election. That's probably not a good week to sell bonds. So, but that might be the week that we could be in the market. So we'll have to just play it by ear, and we'll let you guys know as we get closer to the date when we probably will sell those bonds.
Is this number still a slam dunk that you couldn't do it? 2.5?
33 million?
The total of 35 is they
30.
can't do the 2010 Cs because their water line having a savings.
Yeah.
Might just do the 213.
Yeah, so
What's the potential of the election impacting that?
who knows? I mean, every trader's got an opinion, right? So who knows? What we're just talking about is if we break the bonds between the 2010 series and the 2013 series, the savings that we can achieve with the 2010 in the current market is right around 2%. On the 13s, we can achieve about a little over 6%. So we would do the 13s to get that 6% saving. The 2% is marginal about whether that'd be worth doing it or not.
After fees.
By the time we take the fee out.
The city commission approved that this week.
They did, yes, Tuesday. So we're ready to go.
We couldn't do anything until then, though.
Correct. The second issue that we're spending just an unbelievable amount of time on, which is extremely important, is the integrated resource plan. And in December, we will be asking you to meet at a work session in December where we will present the summary of integrated resource plan results. We'll be presenting the final recommendations at the December regular. So a lot of work been going on here, and this is really the long-term power supply recommendation from staff to you based on what's happening with gas prices, clean power plan, all of our environmental expenditures. And as you know, we've been very focused on this for at least the last couple of years. And we're getting to a point where we're going to have to make a decision. The third item, yes, sir.
The December work session?
Yeah.
Is it December 1st? And I will be out of town that day.
Okay.
For one day.
Well, we could do it any day. It's a special called meeting, so if you would like to do it on the 2nd or the 3rd or whatever, we can.
Third to Saturday.
Yeah. So we could push it to that. So just let us know. How's everyone? We can take that up when we get to the other items. Well, the third item that we spent a fair amount of time on is the water district contract discussions. As you're aware, we're getting close to getting a final number, almost final number from our engineers on the cost of the Chapman expansion project. And we would expect that number in the next month. One of the critical things as we think about bonding the project and the rate increase is to understand how much of those fixed costs are going to be borne by the water districts. And so that effort is ongoing, and Pat and I and others on staff here will be working up contracts. We've had a number of discussions with the districts. We have several proposals in front of them, and we expect that to come to a head very quickly here. We need the districts to have Public Service Commission approval of the rate increase that would be applicable to them before we go to the City Commission asking for bond authority, because we need to be able to demonstrate to the bond buyers that we have sufficient revenue to come in to support the bonds. And roughly a third of our total water production goes to the water district. So it's been a busy last 3-4 weeks, and seems like every year I tell myself we're going to try to get everything done before we get to the end of the year, but it just never works out that way.
So, I mean, were they leaning towards accepting your allocation recommendation when you redid that?
We've proposed a third option to them, which is kind of a middle-of-the-road option. Ultimately, you guys will make the decision of whether that is acceptable or not. The second thing I want to talk about is the Elmer Smith Performance. Kevin and his team have just done an exceptional job this year of keeping the units running and available. Unit 2, for the last 9 months, 5 of the last 9 months had no forced outages, including the last 2 months. And that's an incredible performance for a unit that's 40 years old. So a great job by Kevin and his team. Gas prices have actually trended up, and for the first time probably in 3 years we've actually seen the forwards start to move up. So that's a good sign for us in the wholesale market, and that's what's driving the wholesale sales that are 13% above budget, and income on the wholesale side, net income, that's 24% above budget.
So what do you attribute that to? Speculation of all these
Well,
gas generation? Or?
I think there's 2 things that are driving it. One is warmer temperatures and more burn of natural gas for electric production than there has been historically, so bigger demand. The second thing is that with low gas prices, we saw less and less development of new hydraulic fracturing wells, so less gas in the marketplace. At these prices, it doesn't pay a developer to put a rig on site and drill a new well. Now we're getting to a point where that could change, but gas production in the Utica shale and in what's the other basin? Marcellus has actually been down for the last 6 months. So production is actually down. So we had higher demand, lower supply, and that's causing prices to go up. Now, the correlation with electric prices, future electric prices, is not as strong as we've seen in the past. In the past, we would have expected power prices to come up pretty much lockstep with gas. We've not seen that. It's a much more dampened effect than we've seen in the past. But it is trending in the right direction. And then Chris just gave you an update on the Telecom unit. I'm just very pleased with the performance of that unit. I think that very excited about the business. The 19.5% penetration rate that Chris mentioned in our pilot area is way ahead of what we had planned on. We had planned over several years to get to 19.5%. In 1 year, we were already there. So that's a really good positive sign for this business, and indicator of the latent demand that's out there in the community for these types of services. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lynn to go through the financial report for this month.
Okay, for September 2016 fiscal year to date, the consolidated net income is up 18.4% better than budget. On the retail system, for the current month, September, sales were 2.1% better than budget. The fiscal year to date actual retail performance without the ECA adjustment, we're up, the actual performance of retail, we're up 17.4% better than budget. On the wholesale system for the month, the sales were up 71.7% above budget. Fiscal year to date, net income's up 24.4% better than budget. Telecommunications, we're up $92,000 better than budget, and on the water system, we're up $199,000 better than budget. The box at the bottom There. This is the projected, where we do 4 months of actuals and the rest of the year, 8 months of budget. The consolidated electric system, we're up 12.4%. That's how we expect to end the year. The retail, without ECA adjustment, we should be up 8.3%. Wholesale, we expect to be up 7.5%, better than budget. And then telecommunications, we're going to expect to be around 93,000 net income, and water 199,000. So on the raise that he was talking about, the pay increase, this number right here is what we're looking at, the 1.6 million that we're up above, better than budget, based on what we project to be at the end of the year. We had, back in May, when we approved the budget, you all voted to approve the budget. It was contingent upon a COLA, cost of living adjustment, of 1.7% for 5 months, January through May, which is 131,000. And then the incentive pay was 1.3%, or another 236,000, the incentive pay pool. So if this number right here is above 367,000 as of November 30th, then that goes into effect. All right, that ECA slide. All right. There's so much going on this slide.
I love it.
I love it. You can actually figure it out if you look at it.
All right. This blue line is the ECA actual balance, like through September. We're right here at 8.1 million customers owe us. This is what we budgeted, 9.8 million for them, for the customers to owe us. But if we come down here to the end, if you follow the budget on out to get to up here, we thought it was going to be 1 cent in the ECA raise increase on December 1. But actually, based on actuals for the first 1 month, we're at a little less than half a cent, 0.00471. Then we added the cone for the low and the high, the dotted lines. If wholesale does poorly from now on the rest of the year, we expect to raise a little bit over a penny. If it does really good, it goes down to negative, so we could actually decrease the ECA rate. So we'll just have to watch it another month and see. I guess we'll come to you the November 17th UC meeting and decide what we're going to do with the ECA. But it's looking really good. If we have another good month in October, and I think October's looking pretty good, this less than half a cent will come down even more. And we're also using 4 million in reserves. We can, use either one of those, or we can change the $10 million level. So we've got 3 different variables to look at. Is there any questions on that?
Yeah, one thing I want to point out is that 0.4 of a cent, the 0.471, that's premised upon the budgeted ECA balance at the end of the year, which was close to 10 million. And right now, the budgeted ECA projection for the end of the year is what?
It was 10.5.
Yeah. So we're doing better. We're 2 million below, almost 2 million below where we anticipated to be before the rate. So before the rate increase. So that 0.4 of a cent could actually come down because we're actually recovering more of our operating expenses to the ECA today than we had anticipated. So there, besides the 3 levers that Lynn mentioned, the other thing we could recommend, or you could take action on, is delaying the rate increase a month or 2 and getting more data before we actually raise the rates. So there's a lot of options here. And we anticipated when we put the budget together that we would have to have a rate adjustment. It still looks like we will need to have one. It's just a matter of how much and when we make it.
For each month we delay it, it's about $600,000 to add to the ECA balance to take away.
Yeah, there's a cost associated with it, no question about it. So, you could say, we don't want to dip into reserves, and that would cost $4 million because we're planning on taking $4 million out of reserves in order to not increase rates more than we have to. That would require a higher rate increase.
With the high ones,
Yeah.
and holds up to really well would be 600.
Well,
It depends on what the rate is.
The billing rate times our
Yeah.
KWH usage.
That's just the timing impact of 1 month of not having a rate increase.
Mhm.
On paper, have we started feeding in reserves?
Not yet. We were feeding in those reserves to keep us under the 10
Right,
million.
right.
So we're at 8.1, so we haven't had to.
Okay, any other questions on that? I mean, I'm encouraged that the markets have cooperated, weather's been hot, and the units have run so well, so everything's fine enough for us to keep that rating
We
rate to a
were
minimum.
blowing up there pretty quick for a long time.
Yeah. Next item we have are our governance items, our monthly governance items. And we had 4 policies that were reviewed this time. you reviewed several of them. I did one, and it looks like we didn't find anything that was in a non-compliance or needs attention category. I don't have anything under general information today. Under other business, does anyone have any other business they'd like to bring up? Commissioners? No? Okay. Upcoming meetings, as I mentioned, we'd like to have a work session in early December, and if you could get your calendar out, see what days would work for you, you can go ahead and set that.
So will there not be a November work session?
We're not planning on, we are having a November work session, yes. That'll be our five-year forecast, financial forecast. That's something we're required to do under the governance policies.
What day you planning on?
That would be on the 3rd of November.
I'll be out of town.
Everybody else can make the 3rd. We'll have the information posted, and we're glad to meet with you individually if you'd like, Commissioner, to go over that. So in December.
So the December meeting has to be in December, right?
Correct.
Okay. So it'll be the 2nd or the following week?
Yeah.
And the 2nd works. JP, did you say the 2nd works?
Yes, 2nd works.
It's okay for me, second.
I can do the 2nd. Yeah, we can do the 2nd.
We'll do the 2nd, the 5th, the next Thursday, the 8th.
Okay, so December the 2nd, lunchtime? Perfect, okay. Got that?
11:30.
Yeah, like the.
I'll send out a meeting request.
Hmm.
I'll send out a meeting request.
Okay.
All right. With that, I'd ask for a motion to go into
Sorry,
closed.
again, what about the December? Is that when you got a contract?
That's what we just yeah, he couldn't do it on the 1st, but he can do it on the 2nd. The regular December meeting is the 15th, right? Yeah. All right, with that, I'd ask for a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)F, pending litigation pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)C, and matters which are required to be discussed in privacy pursuant to 61.810(1)K, including but not limited to KRS 61.878(1)CI and KRS 61.872(6).
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
OMU Commissioners Meeting ending 20th of October 2016.
I don't know. Maybe you see the new appeal, they said it's going to be next year.
OMU Commissioners Meeting 20th of October 2016.
Yeah, but I think that they said if he does,